Hi, everyone, and welcome to our June ambassador briefing. This month, we are going to talk about a new grant program that we have. Eric Vicks, Director of Advocacy and Patient Engagement, will be the one to lead that portion of the briefing, and then I will touch upon our regional events and a review of the event we had in Atlanta. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Eric.
Actually, there's going to be one more ado. Can
Okay.
you show me how to show my screen?
At the bottom, it should have share screen, but if you want, I
That sorry.
can.
Totally challenged over my side. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So when I first started, Ben gave me some of you to reach out to, and there's some others who've reached out to me in the meantime to talk about what was working well for you with AKF and what changes need to be made or could be made. And one of the things that I noticed and that stuck with me was the fact that many of you do things at the local level already. Either you have your own organizations that do education work or outreach engagement pieces, or you do it ad hoc. And we wanted to try to figure out a way that we could try to support the work that you're doing on the ground. So we decided to come up with the AKF Ambassador Community Engagement Awards Program. And we're just going to talk about what the program is, who's eligible, and the general application process. And then my last slide is just going over some things that you can do to make your application a little stronger. The AKF Ambassador Community Engagement Awards Program is something we call the ACE Awards Program, just because that's a mouthful. The awards gives you up to $600 to provide the opportunity to get funding for anything that is important to you while educating on kidney disease. So it's anything that you want to do, but it still, of course, has to fit up under our general umbrella. And some people can use the money to either have your events. It could be your, you need to feed people while they're at the event. You need to buy supplies. You need to try to get a speaker in, or you might use it for seed money to work with other organizations to do a larger event. I know we've partnered with some of you over the years to provide some funding to go with the things you're already doing on the ground. So I would like to try to, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say also before we get started, this is actually a pilot program. So we only have a limited amount of funding this year. I think Ben put it in the announcement that it was for about 10 grants or 10 awards. And if it works, then we can put it in our budget so that we can get more in the upcoming years. And I do happen to know that there are other departments at AKF that are working on similar projects that would provide larger awards in the future. But right now, everybody's going to be looking at this one just to see how it works. The program, like I said, can fund your small activities to educate communities, or it can serve as seed money to help with your larger programs. What am I? This is, so to be eligible, the only thing you really have to have is AKF membership as an ambassador for 6 months. And that's basically filling out that application that you first filled out when you first reached us. So if you're getting the newsletter, you are an ambassador. If you've been with us for less than 6 months and you are wanting to do something, I would suggest reaching out to either Ben or myself. Maybe there's an opportunity to partner with someone else who's local to you, but we can find ways to make it happen. But we do have to have some kind of, we have to have some kind of stipulations in there as to someone being involved or engaged with us over a period of time, so that the rest of the people in the building would be willing to accept the program. The application process. It's going to be online. Applications will be approved by AKF staff, and they're probably going to be people all from our department. So it will not just be Ben, and it will not just be myself. So calling us won't necessarily get you over the hurdle. The applications will be judged based upon prioritizing your proposed budget, looking at your expenses and outlines. So basically, we want you to know how much money you need and what you want to spend it on. We want you to show that you can actually complete the project that you're proposing. We want you to identify resources or infrastructure necessary to complete the project. So the things that you need to make it happen, we want you to show that those things are already have already been considered. And then the overall impact of the completed project. And really, we're talking about how many people are you talking about engaging, or how many people will this affect? If you can show us these things, then I think we'll be willing to move forward from that point. Applications will be accepted and awarded on an ongoing basis. So we initially were going to have a official date that applications had to be in by, but because of the organic nature that we're trying to support here, if you have an activity coming up, you can apply, and we will try to review the application within 30 days and make a determination, yes or no, completely at that time. The initial promotion of the program will be limited to people who we already have a relationship with. So we're only going to be probably sending it out through our newsletter, as well as our Facebook page, simply because it is a small program and we really don't have the resources to fund people who are new to us at that time. And to strengthen your application, which is the slide that was out of place, the best prepared ambassadors will probably already have completed Kidney Coach training. They're going to be tracking who they're engaging with. So you'll be able to basically give us a list of people that you have been working with, or who've attended your events, or benefited from your project. And they also incorporate other AKF education materials or services, such as conducting kidney assessments, or connecting community to AKF advocacy, or somehow expanding volunteerism in the kidney community. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. I know that you are already doing a lot of these things on the ground, and we just want to find a way to support the work that you're doing. And from that point, we can take any questions that you have. And
Hi,
I'm
everyone.
sorry, let me figure out how to. Ben, you know I'm challenged.
You can go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. I have a question about the use of the grant money. If you want to use the grant money, for example, to pursue something like a 501c3 for your organization, would that be within the accepted parameters?
No,
Okay,
it's only for activities.
for specific activities.
Yes, for specific
Okay.
activities. I don't know if we have the bandwidth to help people pursue their 501c3 status. But there are some organizations around the country, and some local ones as well, who we can probably help direct you to get that done.
Okay, thank you.
Any
And
questions? Go
well,
ahead. Sir.
I'll just interject real quick, and I'll say, for anyone that we've been partnering with the local events that we've already been speaking to, events are outside of that. So, like we've talked about doing an event in North Carolina, one in Pittsburgh, one in San Antonio. The funding for that comes from a separate pot. So all that is taken care of so far. All right, Curtis, you can go ahead.
Hi, just a quick question. How long do you perceive from the time you submit an application to the time you'll know if you've been approved?
30 days. It'll be within 30 days.
Okay.
And if anybody's worked with Ben, you know, things happen usually faster than that. It's just that gives us enough time to take care of other things if we were busy with, you know, other activities at the time. But we're not planning on sitting on anything. And because this is a pilot and we only have so many grants to give, we can actually put out a notification that, hey, we've either exhausted all the funds that we have at this time and we're going to do it again later, or we can just let you know that we funded everything that we can fund at this moment, and we can let you know when we're bringing it back. So there shouldn't be any surprises from that standpoint, and we will be trying to get with you or get back to you as soon as possible. And like Ben said, there are some activities that we're doing right now. We are doing health equity trainings around the country. We're responsible for 9, Ben? Is that, yeah, I think it's 9.
Yeah, mix of in-person and virtual.
Yes, so there's some we've been working on to try to get in person now. There's some things that have some opportunities that have presented themselves that we have to jump on. And then we'll come back and finish up with some virtual trainings as well. And we can probably do more than the total of the 9 if we consider the virtual portions. But if you are doing something outside of those things, that's where this kind of funding would come into play. If you're doing something larger, I'd say reach out to Ben or myself, and we can see if it's something that AKF wants to be engaged in. Because like I say, this is a maximum of $600. And if you're doing larger events, I know that won't carry very far. And just in case anybody's concerned, I'm planning on having the official announcement and application ready by the July newsletter. So it should be included there once it comes out, probably mid-month.
And I'll just add, if you don't have any events in the pipeline now, this would be a good time maybe to start planning stuff for next year, because we hope to have the grant program around next year as well. And you know, there's already a lot of interest from ambassadors. So if we're not able to provide a grant for your program this time, please don't take it personally. It's just more a function of this being the beginning of the program and us just trying it out. But there's certainly room for growth for next year.
And so I had mentioned briefly about how you could strengthen your applications. And I don't want to say we don't care. That's not right. It's not necessary that you be a kidney health coach or that you incorporate other aspects of the AKF organization in what you're doing. But if you do that, it will probably put you in a better, if you start thinking along those lines, you would probably be in a better position when other AKF grant opportunities come down the pipeline as well. That's why I included it. So it would just prepare you for those opportunities, and you would probably be able to get larger grant awards at that time.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have a question. I just wanted to know, are you going to be recording some of the events that people get funded and so forth and so on for future examples, that people will know what kinds of things you have funded and how they went, that kind of thing?
We're going to try to get that information. We try to get, pictures and overviews and things like that. But it's going to depend on the bandwidth of the person who gets the resources.
Mhm.
When we are giving out awards, again, I would like to see, if there's a sign-up sheet, I would like to see those. If there are pictures, we would like to see those. If they're not, I'm not in the mood to hold it against you at this time.
Okay.
But we will, so when we do this again, I would like to be able to have people who were awarded at this time, or this round, excuse me, to be able to come and speak to the larger group and tell them what kind of things they did and what was successful and what challenges they may have had trying to implement this program.
Mhm.
That was part of the original thoughts to this, but we knew we couldn't really do it until we funded the first round of people.
Mhm. Thank you.
And Ruth, I might be getting ahead of myself, but I find it highly likely that whoever is able to get a grant, that they would probably join us on a future Zoom to share their experiences with the program and sort of what they learned, so that other ambassadors can maybe glean some experience from them.
Okay.
Dan, I guess you can move on.
Okay, so that's a good transition into a discussion about the regional and sort of the in-district meetings. I guess 11 days ago, we had our event in Atlanta, partnered with the CKD Champions, Home Dialysis United, iPro, and other groups as well. At one point, I counted a little bit north of 80 folks there. I'm not sure how many people were there altogether. It was a great day of education and outreach. I've got to discuss advocacy and health equity, which was very important to us. But interestingly enough, there was a bus of 40 people, 20 people who came from South Carolina. It was a 4-hour
Hmm.
drive away, but they found enough value in our program that they organized a bus to come out there. So that was great. And so that was sort of the beginnings of what we call sort of our regional education events. Future ones that we're planning are going to be smaller. We are going to do Pittsburgh on July 19th, but just Pittsburgh, going back and forth same day. Unfortunately, Eric and Katie have volunteered to go with me, so they'll be spending a minimum of 9 hours that day in my minivan, the van ambassador. So public apologies to them in advance. But that one, working with Candy Gagne and Bobby Reed, and what we're doing for that event is it's relying very heavily on elected officials and their staff members attending, because Candy and Bobby are very, very active on both the federal and the state level. And so the two of them have put together a big invite list. We're aiming for about 20, 25 folks. It's just going to be a lunch. We have a room at a restaurant there where we will talk about health equity, advocacy, and just other issues in the kidney community. But it's going to be a good group because also they're involved in, I don't want to use the wrong group's name, but different like community service organizations in Pittsburgh as well. So they're inviting some leaders from those groups. And I think, that's a great place where they can do more outreach on like the kidney health coach level, is if it's Kiwanis Club or whoever it is, I apologize again. Maybe at their next meeting, that's where they talk about kidney disease and help spread the word. And then that sort of helps us transition into planning 2 events in North Carolina, one in Greenville, North Carolina, and then one in Chapel Hill. And what we're doing there is we are partnering so far with 2 new members of Congress there. It'll be Dan Davis in the 1st Congressional District of North Carolina, and then Valley Fushi in the 4th. And what's important is, one, that they're freshman members, so we get to educate them or their staff members on kidney issues. Also, they replaced G.K. Butterfield, who was great on kidney issues, and David Price, who was also really great on kidney issues. And it's a good lesson that, when you have members who have been supportive of our community over the years and they retire or, for whatever reason, or they lose their race, it's good to make sure that we continue developing those relationships with folks who replace them. And then also we're working on doing an event in San Antonio this summer as well, looking at probably end of July for San Antonio. And then that should give us a good cross section of different types of events, different formats, different audiences that we're working with. Which hopefully gives us enough experience to see how we want to pursue these type of events in the future. So I don't know if anyone has any questions for me, any questions about the events so far?
What are the proposed dates for North Carolina?
We don't have proposed dates for North Carolina. We're working with those 2 members' offices, and the way it happened is the very first in-district meeting we did this year was with Dan Davis's office from North Carolina's 1st district, and they said that they have a meeting room in their building that can house 70 people. So they said if we want to do something, that they could help us get that room, which is obviously great. It helps with the logistics a lot. And if we're able to get it off the ground, which we're not there yet, but if we are, they're going to be helping with the outreach as well. And why this is attractive to members of Congress and their staff members is, pre-COVID, members were always doing these type of events, sort of roundtables, open house type events on, they're always doing on different topics that are important to them, but healthcare was usually a pretty common one. And I think if we're able to package the content for them and show up and deliver the content, and then they provide the audience and the auditorium, I think that's a very good combination. I will also add that we did an in-district meeting with Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, and she's important because she is the chair of the Senator Probst's Health Subcommittee, and her staff member asked us to put together a roundtable of folks involved in the kidney community in Wisconsin, who could speak with the staff member initially, and then sort of serve as informal advisors on kidney issues for the future. And obviously we jumped at that opportunity, but just shows sort of the importance of the in-district meetings, because you never know what's going to happen and who's going to show interest in getting involved with us, and who has a background or some involvement in the kidney community from before. So any questions about the in-districts or regional events?
Yeah, Ben, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned when we were in Atlanta about Hakeem Jeffries picnic in Brooklyn. Did
Oh,
you
yeah.
plan on attending that?
Yeah, we will definitely be there.
And when is that?
Well, there's no date yet. So as soon as,
Okay.
yeah, well, at least we haven't been told of the date yet, but as soon as
Okay.
the date comes out, we will certainly make sure that all the CKD champions are aware.
Okay, thank you.
Ben, isn't that in August?
Yeah, it's going to be in August. We just don't know
Yes.
exactly when yet.
Oh,
And
sometime in August.
It's around the 19th, somewhere around the 19th.
yeah, and so we found last year's date was the 14th, which
Mhm.
I think in what we saw that that's FDR's birthday, and it was done in celebration of Social Security. So
Oh,
we're expecting it to be in the mid-teens in August. We just don't have the specific date yet.
okay, great, thank you.
But I will say my family's sick of me traveling, so you might see the whole Schlesinger family rolling up in the Van Ambassador to Brooklyn.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
And I say, got a message here about North Carolina events. We really have no direction in when those dates might be at all. We're just waiting to hear back from the two offices as to when might be good, but I don't see it happening in July, to be perfectly honest. I think probably not enough time, but anytime after that. But for anyone who's interested, it's good to know any difficult dates for you.
If we can push anything, we will try to push that both North Carolina events happen back to back, just because of travel cost. So once we have one, we can probably see if we can push for the other for it to be, somewhere around that same time period. And we can share it with you at that time.
And also just for logistics, we'll be driving to North Carolina. So it's a lot easier if we just drive there once instead of driving twice. And I will say apologies to any of my geographically challenged friends in this briefing today. But as far as the regional events, we stand a much greater chance of being able to pull it off if we can drive, just because just makes it a lot easier for us to just fit it in our schedules whenever. But so I consider driving distance to be about 4.5 hours from the AKF satellite offices here in Silver Spring, Maryland. So that would be, I think we do Brooklyn to Pittsburgh. I think that's Charleston, West Virginia. We can get out there through the mountains, and then Chapel Hill in North Carolina. That does encompass a lot of congressional districts. So I think that's pretty much Manhattan, or excuse me, all of New York City and a little bit north, pretty much all of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all of Maryland, pretty much all of Virginia, and a little chunk of North Carolina. But for those that require air travel, we're certainly happy to work with those and see. But for folks who are still interested in district meetings, please let me know. We're continuing to schedule them. We've done about, by the end of this month, I think we'll have done about 50 or 60 meetings this month. They're only about 15 minutes each, but the offices really enjoy them because we just talk about how we can help with the charitable premium assistance and how we can help with constituent services if people contact their office with kidney related issues. And we're also asking them to let us know if they are going to have health fairs or senior fairs, veterans fairs, to let us know, because like tomorrow we have a meeting with Congressman Schneider's office from Illinois, and he had a health fair every year in a Hispanic church. He has the suburbs of Chicago, and I attended that in October 2019. And obviously, everyone knows what happened in March. People tend to not have health fairs and stuff once it gets to November because of Thanksgiving and then the winter months. So I think a lot of offices are interested in this, and we're just interested in getting back to having those events. What helps us, and something we as an organization we have to be cognizant of, is next year is a presidential election year. So I think a lot of offices will be more than willing to be a lot more out in the open and out in the community with it being an election year. So we'll certainly keep tabs on all that and continue to work with all of you. Any other questions? Anything else on anyone's mind so far? Okay, if not, and then I will thank everyone for joining us so far today. If you have any questions in the future about the grants or anything else, please feel free to reach out and let us know. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.